And the first thing is the minutes from 2019, to February 9th of 2026.
That's all. I thought there was, oh. Some lady takes them, I don't know.
I move we
That's a good job.
I move we accept them as recorded.
I'll second.
Okay, so there's been a motion by Lori to accept the minutes and Dr. Bougine seconded. All those in favor?
And it's Mark.
I assume it's probably Mark Burgess.
Oh,
I
okay.
assume. I don't know that for sure.
There he is. Hi, Mark.
Our friend Andrew was on, so the only thing, I've had a few conversations with Wade and they have the punch list and they are anticipating coming down and doing the things that we have on the punch list.
Okay.
And they were waiting for temperatures to.
Sorry, you
Oh,
might have
that's
been
all
getting
right.
there, but did
Hi.
he indicate if that was at cost to you or if they were going to take care of it as part of the phase one scope?
I'd assume he didn't give me any indication that there'd be an additional invoice, so.
Good.
He didn't give me any indication of that, so, but we talked about a few things and they're right in the middle of, bid season, so he's been busy as usual, so, but he and I talked briefly about that and we know that they're coming down to do that and they still have a key and he's going to give me a heads up when he thinks the person that's doing that, hit list work will be down here. And at that time, when I know they're in the process, I'll reach out to Steve Brown and make sure he knows. So we're all on the same page with that. Right before I left, I talked to Ben from Quality Insulation, and he's working on a new proposal for the insulation. I haven't had any communication yet with an electrician to discuss the rough-in, so that's all still pending. As we know, we can always go back and do the rough-in, but I'm still trying to get estimates
Ed
from,
Gardner was gonna get you some information on that.
and I don't think that would work
Okay,
because he doesn't have any insurance.
yeah, I know, he's self-insured.
So and that's one thing you need is a certificate of insurance to do anything.
To even rough in, to drill the holes in the 2x4 or the 2x6s, you have to have insurance to do that?
For the town, to do work for the town, you have to have a certificate of insurance. From everything that I've been told, because anytime that we've had people, do anything for us, even free stuff,
Okay.
I asked Justin what we need and that's what he says we need, this certificate of insurance, because they had one on hand and I got one from Kevin Wing and we know that
Yeah,
Spencer had one and, those are the things that we always had to have before.
well, Dennis did bring up a good point the other night. I didn't realize that there wasn't that foam insulation around the doors.
Yeah,
and
and
windows.
we knew that was all that way from the walkthrough. We knew that.
I know, but I thought it was supposed to be done. I thought that was one of the things on the
It is
check.
on the hit list.
But gosh, I wish he would have done it before winter.
So, and I think that, when they come in and do all of that, there's caulking and there's insulation that needs to happen so that the temperature has to be a certain thing for all
Well,
of that to
yeah, I
happen.
understand
So,
that. But
yes, I know. And
back in the fall, I mean, yeah, I hope you let Wade know that I'm kind of disappointed that wasn't done before winter.
I believe Wade was pretty disappointed when he walked through too, so.
Okay, well, and Dennis brought up a good point. I mean, geez.
Oh, I know,
That's
but
ridiculous.
it's all the same thing that,
Yeah,
I talked to a contractor today and he said to me, you know, just to even get somebody to call you back to do anything is almost
I
impossible at this
understand.
point in time, so. So I'm waiting on those things from, you know, people that I've communicated with and people that I've sent emails to, trying to get estimates on rough-in, you know, and different things like that, so.
One other thing from Nickerson O'Day, they were gonna submit a request for, some kind of a historic certificate.
Preservation
Yeah,
award.
is that-
And because the project's not complete, it has to be completed to be
Well,
submitted.
Okay.
So,
Even if it's just the exterior.
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
We just talked about that as well, because I followed up with him because I knew that the applications for the Historic Preservation Award needed to be in by the middle of February, and he and I chatted about that, and I asked him, because the awards came out in March, because the old Panett Funeral Home in Lewiston won
Yes.
one of them,
I saw
won the
that.
Historic Preservation Award. But it was completed. The project has to be
Yeah.
complete to be considered for the award. So obviously,
That's a
so,
good
and when we're done, you know,
We can try
we
again.
can try again. So that's where we're going with that. Andrew, do you have anything for us?
Nope, I don't have anything other than, you know, when Nick O'Day gets back there and takes care of the punch list items, we should probably walk through it again to just verify
Yes.
that everything was
Yeah.
done. So as soon as
Yeah.
those are done.
And that's why I'll make sure Steve's around when whoever comes to work, you know, Steve's a part of that plan, so.
So on the punch list, those are all things that we had anticipated that they had done, correct?
Yeah, it needed to
Okay.
be part of the scope,
Okay.
so.
Just want to make sure, because I would hope that I would hope there'd be no additional cost,
Yes, yeah.
you know, so.
He didn't give me any indication
Indication,
there
right.
was, so, you know.
Right, well, we've
It
gotten
depends
enough.
on if it was, you know, things that were billed for, even if it was in the scope and it wasn't billed for and not done. It's
Mhm.
different from something that was billed for but not done, or at least done to completion, like the weather stripping on the doors. When
Mhm.
those doors were installed and they billed for the labor of the doors and the quantity of the doors and all of that stuff, and the weather stripping and all parts and components, that should have been installed properly. But for things
Right.
like potentially, oh, what's the thing on there, Chris, that might maybe the insulation over the windows,
Yeah, that's
Wade
spray foam
offered.
over those.
So no insulation scope from phase one has likely been billed yet because there's no insulation in the project or in the building as it stands currently. So potentially, and I'm not saying that it will or won't, Lori, but potentially if it hasn't been billed for, they may bill for it. Although when Wade said that he was going to spray foam the windows, he kind of made it sound like he was just going to take care of it.
Okay, so, but also, Andrew, we're not gonna be charged for him coming down, correct? I mean, like, I know when we built our house, of course, it was in 2000, but when we had an issue with the contractor and asked him to come directly, I wasn't then charged for that. So we're not gonna get an additional charge for his time, are we?
That's probably a gray area as well. I would think, and he's been relatively reasonable, you know, throughout this whole process, that he probably eats a lot of it. But I guess I wouldn't say for sure whether or not
Okay.
they would charge, because back to the previous example of scope that hadn't been billed for, if something was done incorrectly, a contractor will eat that cost. But if it
Right.
wasn't necessarily done and it wasn't billed for, then it's kind of a gray area of, are they going to eat it for the client's benefit, or are they going to bill for it because it was not technically completed?
Okay,
Yeah, but I think we went all winter heating that place without at least the insulation around the door and the windows. That's not right. They knew that we were gonna heat that place in the winter and they should have foreseen that and made sure that it was taken care of, at least as much as they could do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that comes down to a conversation with him, ultimately.
Yeah, and anytime that I've talked with Wade one-to-one, he's been more
Okay.
than reasonable. And, even when we did the walkthrough, that is, the impression that you have too, don't you, Andrew, that he's more than reasonable.
Correct.
So,
And
okay.
none of these things are big ticket items anyways, and it's, within their best interest, from a client relation and a public standpoint to do things that could potentially get them future work. Like if you reference them to another town or municipality that's doing work similar to this or something like that. So, if they lose say $1,000 worth of labor for a day of work, that's not big money in the grand scheme of things,
And I'll just mention that Wade is now president of Nickerson and O'Day, so.
Well, the $1,000, Andrew, isn't in their grand scheme of things a lot of money. For
Yes.
us right now, every $1,000
Yeah.
is a huge amount. So hopefully it's going to be something that I'm got in the back of my mind concerned about, but it's not going to take place, that he will be, as you say, the way he has in the past, been very good to us.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that's all I have going on, wait, hurry up and wait for tradesmen to get you the information you need. So, and I'd anticipate from the conversation I just had with Ben at Quality Insulation, I'll see something in the next day or two from them. So we'll have an idea about the exterior walls.
Okay.
And the ceiling and the 1914 section. So
Consolidated, I'm sorry, what did you?
quality insulation. Yeah, quality insulation.
Consolidated? Okay.
Did I say
You might, I don't know, I heard it, maybe I was thinking
I've
about
been
it.
calling Susan Collins Olympia Snow, so
Okay.
I don't know what I say anymore. So
I hear you.
I think we also need to come up with a plan B. So if we don't have enough money to match the 25%, then we need to come up with plan B, which to me would be figure out how much money we have and then just apply for, the amount that we could conceivably get. And then just break the project down into sections and just do what we can get done and then go from there.
yeah, and the historic preservation bond, that will end up getting put to bed April 14th.
April 14th, okay, good.
That's when the current legislative session ends. And let me find my email from Craig Hickman. Because he always explains things pretty well. He says, all bills on the AFA table remain there until nearly the end of session before taking any action. And I'm like, so then I Googled when it ends. So it's April 15th. So we won't know anything more about that until it ends. The legislative session ends. And then it'll take a while to go through historic preservation as they come up with an application and how that all gets.
And are they gonna limit, we don't know yet, do we, if they're gonna limit the amount of money? So in other words, they're not gonna give like $1 million to one project, I wouldn't think.
It's $10 million.
Total, that's what I'm saying,
So I think that they'll probably have some boundaries.
Yes.
I mean, and as we've done before, we've asked for the moon and
Yeah, right.
then, they come back and do whatever.
Which is what I think you need to do. I mean, and I know this is off topic, but I know when we went for our Memorial School, when we went for our high school, instead of asking for the moon, we said, well, could we have maybe this star? And then we got, like the horizon, like I always say, we should ask for the Cadillac or the Hummer, and instead of asking for the Chevy and then settling on the Volkswagen.
Yeah.
So I think we need to ask high and be
But
willing.
if there's a limit, I mean, if they're gonna say, we've got 30 applications, so we're not, we're only gonna give like 150,000 or whatever.
Good Lord.
Well, I mean, they
I'm
might,
counting on the million.
well, I don't see it myself. Then you gotta be reasonable. You gotta get what you think you can get
Yeah.
and go from there. Yes, Dennis?
How many times have you guys applied for grants and all that stuff from the start of the process till now? I mean, like, I get you trying to go for one now, but what's the miracle of this time?
So we're going to take public comment during public
Yeah.
comment, and we're gonna finish our business as part of the meeting.
And then
So,
we'll answer your question. I know. We'll answer your question though, Dennis, okay?
so, Steve's working on all of that
I know.
stuff, so, but while we've got Andrew on, Andrew, there's somebody else sitting up there in the waiting room, and I don't have the mouse over here, so.
Didn't you see that? I don't know.
I can't
I
see
can't
it, no.
see it. I'm like, we
I
do.
can see from that far away, I could see somebody was in the waiting room, but I can't see with the mouse of where I'm going. So that's why I keep the mouse over there so I can
Okay.
walk over and look at it. So while we have Andrew, do you have anything else for us, Andrew? Anything new, different, exciting?
No, I don't think so. Other than you had asked me last week when we spoke about what a phase two from the architectural services standpoint would entail. And I'm sure that's where you're going with the grant that you've talked about.
Yeah,
So just to let everyone know, the design itself was already done, gosh, what, 3-4 years ago at this point?
yeah,
Not longer.
yeah,
So we have all of that stuff in place. So there's no real architectural services other than continued, work with a contractor, whether it's Nick O'Day. I mean, I don't know if you would plan on bringing them back for the phase two, or if that has to go out to public bid. If the project kind of stops and starts, I'm not sure how that works from a municipality standpoint. But we would just continue to work with them to follow the design requirements and specifications and stuff. So from the architectural services standpoint, it's not a lot of additional fee. So that's just where I'll.
yes. Steve was working on the Susan Collins congressionally directed spending grant. So he was working on that, and he was also looking at the northern borders. So that's where we were coming from to try to figure out what those costs were going forward, because they ask all of those things in those grants. So
Yeah, I mean, we could try and throw together a rough estimate. I mean, typically most architecture firms will bill construction administration as hourly because it's not necessarily a defined amount of hours. Something could come up and add hours here and there, so it's typically billed hourly, so it's hard to say. We could try and estimate that based off of the billing for phase one, if you need a real.
I don't think that he needed anything, concrete. I know that he did send in the initial grant application, so that's been submitted.
Okay.
But if we don't have the money in the warrant article as matching, then we'd have to pull it. So that's the whole thing. So there's a process for that too. So, but we've met with Susan Collins's office. The local guy has come and walked the project with us, and Steve and I met with him at the town office to go over the ins and outs of it. And so Steve and I have talked with him, and he's been around for 20 some odd years, so he knows the process really well. So he was helpful, extremely helpful.
Andrew, on a municipal building, can we use like volunteer workers for some projects, or would that not be legal?
That I don't think that's legal. I know that we're doing some work for the Department of Corrections, which I know is a higher tier than municipal. It's state level, but they have to pay inmates. They have residents to do work. They can't have them work for quote unquote free, or as part of their tenure. So they do have to pay them. So I don't think, from my limited knowledge of that, that tells me that you can't have volunteers do work.
Okay.
And I
Now,
think, you know,
wasn't there a question about in-kind donations though, as being sort of like work adjacent, like
Yeah,
cutting those trees down?
yeah, I mean, they'll in kind, so things like that, as long as, I think that if they are a business that has liability insurance, and I wouldn't quote me on this, but if they are a business and they want to donate time and materials, they can. But, I couldn't go up there and decide I'm going to install sheetrock because,
Yeah.
first of all, I would never do that.
No, yeah, no.
I would never touch sheetrock if I didn't have to. And, so things like that. I mean, you have to have somebody that, is working on the project that knows what they're doing. But, and the other part of it too is that, in-kind donations don't count towards
25%.
these two types of grants. They don't.
So all the kitchen equipment that we have that has been donated, that is sitting and we can't have it.
Yeah.
Because we're not ready.
Yeah.
That can't be
It
counted.
can't be counted. So, because those were all specific questions
Right,
we asked
right.
the representative from
Right.
As far
Susan
as
Collins'
the-
office.
I don't understand that, I know the fire department has certain members who do trades and they donate their time, like Danny Niles.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and those are questions we'd have to ask Justin specifically, that if somebody was gonna say, oh, I'm willing to come up and do, XYZ for you, those are all questions that we'd have to ask about how that process would go. But I know that the biggest thing is it all comes down to liability on the project, so.
Well, so someone like, say, home builders or cabin builders, I'm sorry, cabin masters, yeah. If they said, well, we would gladly help you do some of this and we'll donate our time and we'll make a movie out of it, a TV series.
Like they did for the
Right,
fire department.
right. I mean, would that be acceptable?
Well, I think that something like that probably would be considered, but because obviously they do have insurance, and
Yeah.
they do have the ability to do that, but
Dan Niles and other people who work on
exactly.
insurance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, those are all conversations to have when we get to that point, if we do get to that point, so.
If you don't get the grant,
To get to that point.
Well, yeah.
Because what we have spent, we can't not finish. Somehow we have to finish. Because the town, I think, would eat us alive if suddenly this money that they appropriated and we've been paying, we still have to pay the damn bill.
Well, yes.
And I have people asking me all the time, can we use it for this? Can we use it for this? And I go, yeah, as soon as we have the money to finish it.
Yeah, yeah.
So somehow we have to, we can't say if, we have to say when.
And I've talked to a lot of people in the past week that weren't for the $700,000 question that we asked, but they look at this question that we're proposing and they're like, this makes so much sense. It has so much bang for your buck that it's a no-brainer to approve, a warrant article of $187,000 to get $750,000.
Right.
And they were all people that didn't you know, vote for the $700,000 2 years ago, so. So that's the feedback I've had from people. But I think it's a huge return on your investment, otherwise you're left with a $1.7 million statue that,
My understanding too is the current town office is really overcrowded, isn't it? I
Yes.
mean, and I can't, if we had to build a new town office, Mark, what would it cost us to build a new town office? I mean, it
would be millions of
would be
dollars.
millions and millions of dollars.
It probably would be, yeah, it would be over $1 million to build a new building like that. And they're just lacking storage, but I think it's fireproof storage is the problem. It's not just
Yes.
regular storage. It has to be in a concrete
Okay.
enclosed vault, kind of.
All right.
Well, that part, but I mean, yes, we've discussed a lot about, just invoices. The fireproof storage for vital records is one thing. But then there's another whole set of storage down there for, invoices and things that they have to hold on to for certain amounts of times, like your CPA tells you to hold on to your records for 7 years. So those types of things, don't have to be in fire storage from the conversations I've had with Justin, because we've talked about, and Linda Cohen before him, about, where storage is available, because there'd been things stored in the basement of Cumston Hall that had to be moved out of there before the new HVAC machinery went in. Where storage is available, because the second floor would be available for storage. Because the utilities, I mean, the infrastructure of the heating system that will be upstairs won't take up the whole space
In the,
in the
right,
1856 building.
Right.
So, storing boxes of invoices and things like that, as long as they're accessible. So, that type of thing. So that's the discussion there. So, do we have anything else exciting?
No, I didn't win the megabucks,
No.
so I can't give you the
So,
million, sorry.
So we'll talk a little more about fundraising when we get to that topic. So we'll move on to the invoices. We don't have anything from Paul Design, and we don't have anything from Nick O'Day. The only thing we have is from Fabian this time, and I believe that we have
Three of them?
four.
Four?
There's four, because one's on the backside. I printed front to back on.
And we're sure this is all for this building,
Yes, it
right?
does have 115 Academy, so, so they're all the right, location. And that total, according to my calculator, was $1,025.86. We had some pretty cold weather this winter, so the past few days have helped. So that's the total for Fabian.
I'll make a motion we pay.
I'll second that.
Oh, God.
I know. So I've got a motion by Doug and a second by Dr. Bougie to approve the Fabian invoices. All those in favor? Thank you.
15 years ago, I could have given you a deal.
I know. That would have been nice. So, we know Steve's not, he's on vacation for a few days. Steve Eldridge.
Yeah.
And, but the only excitement that I've had beyond the work for, what he's doing right now is, we've got a Clink statement, which is another whole funny thing. Clink was bought by another company. We had done all the paperwork to have ACH deposits going directly into our bank account, which is a big thing that the bookkeeper and I had worked on. And then all of a sudden, we get a check in the mail made out to 1856 Monmouth Academy. Like, why are we getting a check? When we've done the ACH paperwork, which was a big deal, working through the bookkeeper and making sure it got there securely and all this fun stuff. And lo and behold, they've been bought by another company. So all of that ACH information went away, and they're not doing ACH payments, they're mailing checks. So the bookkeeper, Jessica, reached out to them and got it squared away. They wouldn't reissue the check. So they're going to lump it in with the next quarter's statement and payment. But, you know, just those little things, it was not a lot, but it was $132.70. So it was better.
Buys a doorknob.
Exactly. And
So are those clink bags available, or will those bags be available?
I had those at Gary Crocker, and I do have bags and tags. The other thing is, if you put in your Clink money, you can go into your account and donate your money. So that's what a lot of people do, and that's where these came from. Some of them were anonymous gifts, and then another person was Brian Clayton. Whoever Brian Clayton is, he donated his $18.50 of his Clink
Thank
stuff.
you, Brian.
But somebody donated an anonymous donation of $87.50. So, you know, and that was January 8th.
What is it?
Clink, it's bottled deposits.
Oh,
So.
That
you
takes
know,
a
when you-
lot to get these,
I know.
5 cents a piece.
Exactly. So,
Well, unless
you know,
you have
but they
15 cent, but, yeah.
donated that, and, you know, it is what it is. So
it's not at the transfer.
not at the transfer station, no. So if you ever are interested in it, you can still go on to Clink's website, and they have a button on there for donate. You can donate from your Clink account, and just move your, how much ever you decide you want, into any of these people that are listed, and you can search by zip code or name and find out who is receiving donations.
We should put that in the messenger.
I had it on, I put it on the alumni page
Okay.
back in August, September, when I did it. And I also had it at Apple Fest, and I also had it at the Gary Crocker Show, and I had bags and tags at the Gary Crocker Show.
And I missed all that. I'm
So,
sorry,
but
Phil.
I've got them, so if you want them, I
Put
can give them to
on
you.
Messenger too, because you know, Norm Toms told me Camp Mechuana gets $10,000 a year from Clink.
Yeah.
So that's,
Yeah.
you know, that can add up.
It can, yeah. So, you know, I'll put it in the Messenger article. That's the next thing Steve and I are gonna work on, is a Messenger article about, it'll be due next Friday. I try to get it to Dennis Price, before the Monday, so I try to get it to him on Friday. But he and I will work on that, and, the message will be, you know, I'm gonna put the information about the warrant article in there. Hopefully it'll be on the warrant. That's the hope. That'll be a warrant article on there asking for that. I'll also put the information in there about, you know, yes, we're asking in a line for itself for, heating, so we're not eating into what little we have left. So that will be in there. I'll also put something in there about Clink too, so people know that the Clink is on there. I probably still have that little, you know, because I did like a screenshot of how you can donate and put it on there. So,
You could go online and get a Clink account.
yes, you can do it online, or you can pick up the information at probably Hannaford, like when you walk in over on the left-hand side, opposite from the carts at Hannaford. So, but I think you can make one online. I think that initially you pick up get the information online. There might be, you know, like Irving, a folder, you know, of how you get an Irving account to pay at the pump, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So that probably is available too. And we sold one of Rudy's books at the Valentine's tea, so that was $35. So that's all we have right now for fundraising. This is always kind of a slow time of year to do anything after the holidays, and people are thinking of other things like making it warm outside. The select board update, I think the big thing is Steve presented the warrant article for us to consider, and the matching funds. So, you know, we'll see where that leads. there's a copy of it there for you that if you didn't see it, I made some copies of it. Oh, did I bring up, look at, I brought up the things I brought up. This is my work stuff.
Oh,
I was looking at it going, I'm not quite sure what it is, but I'll take
Well,
this.
you know, when you print stuff off on your home computer, you bring up stuff from your work. Amazing, there's
I
no
didn't take one.
schedules of games. So Lori's got one. If you don't have it, I can.
No, I don't.
No, you meant what, this, you have this?
You need your work stuff. Yeah.
No, she's got the work.
I've got the work stuff. You
I didn't
didn't, it
take
was
any.
my personal work
Okay,
stuff.
yeah, no.
My business
that's
stuff,
fine.
I pulled stuff off the printer and there it was mixed in with
Yeah.
it, so. Cause I looked over and I'm like, what is that receipt? Yeah, that was my list. So that's that excitement. And the other thing to address the elephant in the room, time and materials, invoicing. So Nickerson and O'Day was chosen as the construction manager for our project through an RFP that we sent out through the town. And we interviewed how many construction managers. Andrew, do you remember how many construction managers we interviewed?
I think it was 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we interviewed, that's what I thought as well. And you folks were part of our interview process with them. And, you know, Nickerson and O'Day, we chose them as construction manager for a lot of reasons, but they work on an at-risk delivery model that was used to deliver the project. The guaranteed minimum price protected the town. So GMP, the number is represented as an absolute ceiling. The town would be charged unless the town formally approved a change in scope. Once the GMP was executed, if the cost exceed the guaranteed maximum price that was agreed to, Nickerson and O'Day would have absorbed those costs. The town would not have had to pay more. That is not a theoretical protection. It's a contractual risk carried by the contractor. The GMP structure shifts risk away from the taxpayers and onto the contractor. Contractor compensation was fixed and transparent. Their management fee was 4.95% of the cost of the work. That percentage was negotiated and agreed to prior to establishing the GMP. It did not increase during construction. It did not fluctuate based on market fluctuations, and it did not change based on cost growth. It contains supervision, coordination, safety oversight, cost reporting, administration, and company overhead and profit. For public construction work of 4.95, construction management fee is at or below the typical industry range. At the conclusion of the project, costs came in below the GMP and over $16,000 was returned directly to the town, which means it just is sitting there. It wasn't taken out of the account. No money went back and forth. That is not evidence of excessive profit, it's evidence of cost control. Daily documentation of work performed, extensive daily construction logs were maintained and distributed to all stakeholders. These logs documented workforce on site, equipment utilized, materials delivered, work completed, weather conditions, field issues, and resolutions. There was a continuous documentation of progress. Keep in mind that a large portion of the bell tower work took place at Nickerson and O'Day facilities in Brewer so that it could be constructed out of the elements. It also is worth noting that Nickerson and O'Day did not charge for the rental of their shop space, although the bell tower took up 2 bays for the majority of the winter last year, displacing other equipment that would have been stored inside. We did this as a favor to the project, and Steve Brown donated his trailer and time to transport the bell tower from Brewer to Monmouth. Equipment charges were pre-approved and market-based. The equipment used on this project belongs to Nickerson and O'Day. However, the rental rates were incorporated into the contract before the GMP was finalized. Those rates are consistent with third-party rental companies. There's a whole schedule in their proposal of all of those rental fees. They were reviewed and accepted as part of the contract documents. Equipment is not, quote, free simply because it's owned. It has fuel, maintenance, insurance, depreciation, and replacement costs. Allocating those costs to the project using it is standard, transparent industry practice. These rates were not created after the fact. They were approved before construction began. The project was delivered under guaranteed maximum price that protected the town with a full open book of accounting with multiple levels of monthly invoicing review with extensive daily documentation with a fixed 4.9 management fee, and the costs were returned to the town at closeout. The pricing process was structured, documented, and reviewed at every level. The fee was below average at only 4.9 of the GMP. Risk assumption provided protection to the cost overruns for the town, and the shared savings returned to the town are all indications that the town negotiated a fair contract and the project was delivered in accordance with the contract. So, time and materials is standard in large construction and commercial projects. It's not like hiring Joe Smith to come put a door in at your house. So, how this contract was executed goes right back to the proposal. And the proposal was part of an RFP that was all right from the start. Interviews and who we picked, and every invoice that we see, the architect sees and signs off on. So there was nothing hidden. There was nothing nefarious. There was nothing underhanded. It's all commercial invoicing and commercial contracts.
And I think we need to also note that Steve Brown spent 40 years working for Peachy Construction. And Steve was our clerk of office, or
Clerk of the works.
Clerk of the works. And Steve and Charlie, I think together they're probably the highest taxpayers in the town of Monmouth. I think with the real estate on the Ridge Road that Steve and Charlie own and the clinic there, I know that Steve and Charlie pay more taxes than probably anyone in this room. And if Steve didn't raise any red flags, I guess I would have to assume that the contractor used us right.
So I'm assuming, the elephant in the room, I'm like going, okay.
The elephant in the room is the conversation from the select board meeting.
Which I was not at, nor did I zoom in. Okay, so an issue has come up, and I'm assuming this might come up in public comment.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's okay. And I agreed with Dennis. I mean, I didn't realize they didn't have insulation around the doors and windows. I mean,
Yeah.
I would have, it was my fault. I should have looked into it. I mean,
Yeah.
made sure it was done, but
Yeah. And it was all
I
part of our
agree. Dennis was
walkthrough.
absolutely right to bring that up. He was absolutely right.
So could I suggest that we move, you've
Yeah.
made that report.
Exactly.
Could we move on to the set time and agenda for the meeting that we can then open to public comment?
Yes.
Yep, let's do
And
that.
maybe
Yep, no, let's do that.
So
continue
I
on?
think our next meeting, and I think it was the 13th.
Of April?
Let me just, we haven't published those yet, so
Okay.
I think I wanted to just look at has Dennis done this for us. Yeah, so I think we were going with, so we'll look at either the 6th or the 13th.
Either one's fine with me.
And let me just double check and make sure that there's nothing going on at the building. for April. Get to that part of the calendar. So the 6th and the 13th are both open, so does anybody have a preference?
I don't.
And let me just look at my calendar. I don't have anything at all, so why don't we say April 6th? At 6 o'clock. Okay. Thank you. So now we're open to public comment.
Why would you say I done something? Just because you weren't here during the meeting, just so you have information, I went to the town and got one invoice last week for this project. And I don't have that single one, but I have the rest of the for a certain year. And in that one invoice, they charge you to rent a table saw, a chop saw, a heater, just stuff that a normal, a carpenter, if you was to hire me to come and do a project at your house or any other job, you hire a carpenter, especially at $125 an hour, is what you paid some of these people for. They also, on top of paying you the hourly wage, they charge you for nefarious things, right? So I went today, I have only from 4 of 23 to 3 of 25 is what I got today. And they have stuff like, it says small tools. Doesn't say what, it just says small tools. You have $7,000 from 423 to 325 that you got with the town paid for small tools. Then there's, let me go to another one, a hammer drill. Just a normally masonry drill. $254, that's not much, but still, you could have bought one for that price. So the town could have bought one, let them use it and still have it in the building. Then we'll go to that one later, but, air compressor, $1,000, multiple times, $145, $145, 360, 34, 145. $994 for a compressor. You can go buy one for $500. So you could have had 2 of them sitting in the building. This one really killing me, a dump cart. They're just big plastic carts with wheels on it that you wheel around, you put your trash in and dump. They rented you one for almost the whole project. They're $400 to purchase, $2,372, you folks. And this is also, might I add before, there's 10 months in that time period that do not have an itemized. It's just the bill of 10,000, 26,000, whatever. So there's 10 months that I have no numbers on. So between that date and that date, there's 10 months missing. A grinder, a vacuum, shop vac, $524 they charge you to rent one from them. A computer, they charge you $911 for the use of a computer. Table saw, $1,125 they charge you for the use of a table saw. Air nailer, $388. I mean, then let's go to their supposedly time and material. You're paying them $125 an hour for their time. Then they charge you for travel. Between the crew's travel and the project manager's travel, on top of their wages, you paid them $14,000. Then they also charge you for a truck fee of $4,671. You look in the bill, they charge you for the oil changes from Prompto of $958. They should have charged you for the spark plugs too. I mean, this is just ridiculous. And then, like, the list just goes on and on. It's just the amount of money that was just in. The letter sounds all great and it's normal and it sits in that for their hours, sure. But all this, so because we hired a company from Bangor, we're gonna pay an extra $14,000 between this time and this time because somebody chose to use a place from Bangor. I mean, and again, it's even the design place. Is that what Andrew, does Andrew work for the?
Andrew's from the architects.
$88,000.
So you have construction management and you've got contractor, you're commercial, you've got experience with commercial contracts?
Yes, absolutely. I've done bidding, that's what I did for work for 30 years of my life. Not
And-
big projects like that, but yes, absolutely. Quotes, hiring, calling, running them, the whole 9 yards. Absolutely. That's why when I walked through that building, and then you also state that it was a contract that do not exceed, but it was a time and material. So, okay, and then if it did exceed it, they would absorb the price to finish the project. Well, what was the scope of the project at the beginning? Was it just the outside of the building? Because that's all that's done.
Exactly, because was broken into phases because we knew we only had so much money.
So the 1.2 is just for the outside of the building.
And, you know, all the demo that was done,
That's,
mean,
that
did
was
you
an
even-
additional 500.
no, that was the demo inside the building. The demo inside the building. So if you didn't see what that building started out as and the complete lack of care that that building had, if you'd never been in that building in your life, had you ever been in that building before?
No,
Ever?
no, I've been by it, not in it.
Okay, so that building had not been cared for years from the RSU.
It
The
got
roof was
Band-Aided.
leaking.
It got Band-Aided, right?
Yes, the roof was leaking, the plaster was falling down, so it has a brand new roof. But all of the stuff that had to be demoed inside to even begin. And I'm not gonna argue tit for tat about things. This is a construction management contract. And whether you want to pick it apart or not, I'm not gonna go through each invoice and say, you know, what they were using. But from every explanation I've had, is it's how they make sure that if somebody is doing labor, that there's whatever tool or material they're using matches the labor, and it's an accounting process. And as it's been explained to me, I am not a construction person. I can't explain it. That's why I had Wade, the president of the company, explain it to me. And, you know, if you're unhappy with their work, then I guess
I just can't believe that I'm unhappy with the work, but nobody on the board even seen this for years and years and years.
we've seen it every day.
Then
We've
why
been
wasn't
part of it.
something-
Yeah.
Why wasn't it addressed?
And we also had somebody who was a construction person, like we said, for 40
Steve.
years for Peachy Builders.
You know, and I think Steve used a lot of his own stuff because, you know, Steve has all kinds of stuff and I think Steve said he came here with his truck and he had stuff and he used it. I don't think they charged us for that.
Well, no, they weren't charging us for that. They were charging us for the tools they use because,
But the small tools, like Dennis said, I mean,
but it's all part of that.
Purchase all these tools multiple times over for what they rented.
well, yeah, and I do
It was
agree.
Part of the building, but they just kept. The other thing is that, so way back in, or from 23, it started at $900. Then it went up to 1,400.
I don't have those bills in front of me, so I can't even see. Well, I got them all in a book at home
I
too.
have them right here. So I just wrote it down this way, so it's easy to pawn through them all. But every month it went up until they got to the 4,000 range, almost like, let's see what else we can add. Because they even charge you for Verizon Wireless in here. Wasn't in the beginning, only towards the
Yeah.
end, they started throwing in a Verizon Wireless charge, a lull, you know, it's almost like, let's see what else we can add, let's see what else we can add. And there was no question, no accountability.
I wish
No.
Steve were here because, you know,
Well, that's why you guys invited me to come.
Yeah, I know.
thought that
Oh,
they would
yeah.
be the
Right.
people who
you know,
answer, yeah.
and it sounds like what hospitals do, where they charge you, you know, $20 for an aspirin, you know, I mean, it sounds like they're just padding everything to,
Some of the other things on the invoices that would take a lot more time to do the math is they rented you stuff for 1 week and 2 weeks, but you look at the hours and it's like 23 hours that the contractor had, that the carpenter had. Like, why are we paying for 2 weeks of rental when the guy only had 23 hours on the job that month? I'm like, it just.
no, you're right.
It was just so, and this, I've only been looking at this for 1 day. I actually went and got this morning, and this is what I've come over in 1 day. I can't imagine from 2023, just nobody said, hey, should we question this or, and again, this is all water under the bridge or whatever, but it's just like, everybody keeps saying it was COVID, the reason. COVID only brought prices of material up.
It did.
Other than roofing
Yeah.
And labor prices.
Yeah.
but there's not enough
Well,
material in
and
there.
the other part of this too is Don Hodson was also,
Who is who?
Don Hodson was the chair of this committee.
Okay.
And they own, EJH,
Hodgins, yeah.
the Hodgins masonry, they did
Yeah.
commercial masonry. And Dawn went over every single bill.
And you know, she did.
And we know she did. And Dawn never said anything about it. And that's what Dawn did for her husband's company.
Yeah, so
So-
to me, it sounds like what the hospital,
It's all right.
I know. I agree with you. But it sounds like the bean counters say you gotta charge this for an aspirin, you gotta charge this for a Band-Aid, and you gotta do it. But
So if I'm listening to everything you say. The one thing that has caught me is the Verizon. If we were to, it's like,
Oil changes.
No,
And I'm like,
I was
you know,
gonna-
I'm-
I was
no,
gonna
but
add
I'm
that
like-
too, the oil change.
factor, would it be something, Chris, that we could say, in reviewing this,
Yeah, and Wade and I have had several
Could we-
conversations about this.
why would you charge us for Verizon?
So, and I think
An
that
oil change, I mean,
And I think that-
geez.
since I don't have Wade here and in person.
Right.
and one person that I've talked to about this many times is Andrew. And what they see with contracts and how they're fulfilled, and what they work with. So whether Andrew has anything that he could add to that. And I think that any large construction company, I think there was nobody local that was
Right,
going to do
right,
this
right.
project.
That's right.
Because they didn't have the capability or the ability
Everybody
to
we
do
interviewed
it.
was,
Well, there was a
Either-
company from Lewiston, but for some reason we didn't go with the Lewiston company.
no, we weren't impressed with
Yeah,
It
There-
would have been a demo for product number
Yeah.
one, and then you would have had a lot more people involved because the big part of the project's gone. The rest of that's tiny. That's a small building. That's
Well,
like not a big
and
project.
this is the point that I brought up. I wondered, do we even need to continue with Nickerson O'Day? Because all we have now is the interior work. So we need the electrical work, we need the insulation, we need the plumbing and, sheet rock and wood framing around the windows. I mean, couldn't we just go hire local contractors to do
Well,
that?
I think that's part of the discussion going forward, but,
Yeah.
as the proof of what's going on up there is to get somebody to respond to you.
right.
Mark. Hey, Mark,
Yes.
you're listening to this, right?
Yep.
And what are you thinking?
I'm thinking if you could have found local contractors, we probably should have been able to finish this project. And if we do use local contractors to finish the rest of it, it certainly is gonna come nowhere near $900,000.
That's what I was thinking
Well, we
too.
still have to buy all of the
Well, the heating
heating
system, yeah.
system and all of that, and the plumbing. And the
But you can
plumbing and the
still
fixtures.
contract that out separate with the heating company, can't you? I mean,
Well, but I'll give you an example. So when we looked at electrical, to finish electrical, with Carmel, who Nickerson and O'Day, was working with, their estimate to finish was around $60,000. But when we got an estimate to finish, because Du Bois wouldn't give us, a rough-in price, theirs was 90,000. So there's an example of working with a construction manager and having relationships, not only with, for materials, but also, when you have relationships with companies. So,
Hey, Mark,
Yes.
what do you think of this business that Dennis has pointed out about them?
Froze up on me.
What do you think about this, what he's pointing out with them charging us for the things that they charged us for?
like an oil change.
or like Verizon, or like, charging us for the use of, or this equipment that, like they're charging us rental fees, and then they're, like, and as Dennis said, we could have bought the equipment, probably cheaper than,
Oh, we lost them.
Hmm.
But don't contractors
There he
come
is.
down with their trucks and those,
That's all equal.
But,
Yeah.
but as it was explained to me, it's not like Mark owning his own saw and bringing his saw, because he's wrapped that cost of buying it and maintenance and depreciation into his hourly rate. And they work on a different premise, that they're paying labor over here, and then the equipment, which here is the equipment rental rates right in their, proposal. So it's not anything that we didn't know, because it was all part of the proposal. So,
Wow.
but
Dennis hasn't.
Am I allowed to?
Yeah, talk to Mark.
Mark, what's your hourly rate with tools included?
I currently am charging $75 an hour.
They're charging you $125 an hour for most of the
Yeah.
people. It's up between 110 and 125. If that doesn't include tools, then
But I mean, we have the architect. I mean, Andrews, they have designed what the heating system's supposed to be, haven't they? And ventilation.
yeah,
And I mean,
the mechanicals all.
so don't we just go to a mechanical company and say, here's the blueprint, this is what the architect said we need, and then they put it in for us?
So my question is, who's going to do that?
Should we do it as a committee? Should we take over as general contractors? I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
So,
and
so,
Steve Brown isn't gonna do it anymore.
well, but is he going to be calling these people? Do you know how much time I invest
No,
reaching out
sure, I
to
know.
these, and then coming up, who's
Chris, I know.
going to do that?
I know.
Calling the insulator, calling the electricians, emailing. If you don't have that lifeline with somebody, who does it?
I
So,
know, we should, yes.
so, and that, if Andrew could chime in on this maybe, because, so you said it was 60,000 for their company to give you a quote to rough it in and electrical, but, DeBlois was 90,000. If you use Nixon and O'Day, they're gonna charge a percentage of, Andrew, you can probably help me on this, 15% probably, because they're the sub?
no, but they've already given us, we know an estimate to complete. We already
From
have
the
that.
electrician or from Nicholson and O'Day?
Both. It's part of a schedule that they've given us.
Okay. Because if you use a GC, they charge you a percentage over whatever.
Well, exactly.
Unless you do it yourself, then it's 15%.
It's, Dennis, the thing that amazed me is when we were getting bids for like the electrical,
Yes, sir.
Don's Electric, right down the street, didn't even put in a bid. And I thought to myself, my God, it would have been so easy for them to do this. So I don't know, and we're not contractors, and it is frustrating when you can't get somebody a mile down the road to put a bid in for a big project. I don't know. It's
It's
just,
not that big of a.
well,
They're like, no.
maybe you're
The
right.
demo was, but the rest of it is not.
Yeah.
It's a pretty small. That's why big company like that, like Nicholson and O'Day, is not your fellow for a project of that size. Maybe the demo, yes.
Yeah, well, and the other thing too, Dennis, is they said the demo only did up to 8 feet to the building. And the last 8 feet, then Nickerson O'Day had to do that because they had to be careful not to do any structural damage. And then, of course, we had that lead paint that cost $8,000 to get that lead paint off. So, but I'm as frustrated as you are. I'm looking at the interior and thinking, I don't know,
Well, and the big thing is, we went through the steps that were required to do a job
yeah, I know,
through the municipal route.
yeah.
So as I've always said, this is not like hiring somebody to come, put an addition on your house. It's another whole can of worms. And we, we're all volunteers. So,
And I know the frustrating thing that you were saying in regards to Dawn Electric wouldn't even, but when we put this information out, because very honestly, there are those in the town who wanted to demolish the whole thing because they had their visions of what they wanted here. And then there were those of us who, that is a historical building. That needs to be maintained just as much as Cumston Hall. And the use that we could get out of it. Because I don't know if you ever have to have meetings anywhere, but to try to get a place to have a meeting here in the town, unless you have someone who is willing to be someone from the school, you can't get the school because someone from the school has to be in your meeting with you if you utilize that. You can't use the Helen Melody Hall, excuse me. That pretty much is no, you can't use it. So you have this building, which is tied up mostly with the town, or the fire department has their workout stuff there, but we have no place for people to, like, senior citizens. So, the whole thing is to get that building up, get it, so that people can have senior citizens, they can have private ceremonies. I've said, when I die, that's where my, memorial service is gonna be, whether it's completed or not, because I came here in 1957. My dad was principal. That building means a hell of a lot to me. And it's beautiful. And we have things donated. But to not get the support from local businesses to help us is very, very frustrating. Where were you in 2000?
We weren't here.
There you go. See, so, but like, if we came to you now and said, give us,
We were in the process of building.
right, would you help us? It's just frustrating to
So let me put it.
run up against such brick walls from people who supposedly love our town.
If I would have known what that building would have done to our taxes, I would have helped 1,000% if I could have gotten anything off of our taxes. That's all I care about. That's why I'm bringing this up. That's why I look at select board meetings. That's why I'm going to the budget thing. All I care about is our taxes. We only have a 2,700 square foot house on 12 acres and we're almost at $10,000.
I have a 4,200 square foot and I'm over that.
Yeah, so you feel our pain, like that, when we built, we did our mill rate times what our house was evaluated at, and we should have been at 4,500.
Yeah, but that building is not the only reason.
I agree, but it's the only one that we can, like.
You can yell at us for that.
Right, the RSU, you're fighting City Hall.
Yeah.
Like, there's only so many things that we can cut in the town. The only way the taxes are gonna go down if we eliminate stuff or pull back on something. That's.
Well, and
Or
the other
increase
thing
your
too is, construction is going on all the time. Look at all those new houses going in and Guy
That's the
Piper's
thing.
old
So
area.
here's the thing, there's only two ways to decrease your taxes.
Yeah.
Either cut or increase your revenues.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
there's two ways to increase your revenues. Increase taxes or increase the number of people paying taxes.
Correct.
And the way to increase the number of people paying taxes is to make this town
Desirable.
to live in.
Yeah.
And when you cut things, you're starting a death spiral of the town. When you keep cutting,
I do agree with you on that. Right.
cutting. And if you don't have things that make people want to live here. So with this 55 and over houses that they're building, what do these people want? They want a place to recreate, to have available, to have things, to gather, to do things, to have recreation. We have none of that right now. We're in the process of building a rec program, but the rec program has no place to happen
Yeah.
because this room is absorbed by meetings all the time.
And in East Monmouth, they're building all those houses that are gonna be like $800,000 houses. I mean, you're right. Monmouth is a desirable place to live.
Only if we have the things that make
I
people
know, I
want to
do.
live here.
So, Mark, do you think we should look for a smaller contractor? Maybe not one so big as Nickerson O'Day? Could we get somebody who puts up houses or something like apartment buildings and work with them?
I think the only way you go with another contractor, there's still going to be the fee.
Exactly.
I think the only way to really reduce the cost is, find someone like Steve Brown that would be willing to be the general contractor as far as overseeing things. And even if you paid him a small fee, and then try to hire, a local electrician and a local drywall company and
Yeah.
It still comes back to who is going to do that legwork.
I know, well, that's what he said, like, Steve would do it for a payment,
And Steve is not going to, Steve is retired.
I
And
know,
that's
I-
why, you can't, and I have a job.
I know, no, Chris, no, you've done more than anybody else.
That we will still need to have
I know.
a construction manager that oversees and does the legwork and reaches out to insulators, electricians, or finishers, painters, sheetrock people. That still needs to happen, and it
Well-
can't be me.
Right, so, okay, so
if,
we
if
have
you guys
Dennis
get
here.
if you get $900,000,
We have Mark, who I
I
know
will
is
come be
against
your
the
project
project, but
manager.
Wait, I didn't hear.
If you
What
get
was that, Mark?
$900,000, I will come be your project manager, and I will bring this in probably at 60% of that budget.
Mark, that's a deal. I'm happy with
can I
that.
have that in writing, signed in blood?
No, Mark, I think if you would be willing to do that,
He's been against
I
it
would be
though.
willing to support it.
So, but the fact remains that something has to happen with this building. And it has
that's
to be
right.
finished because
Yeah.
we're already paying the initial amount.
I think the town would string us up if someone all of a sudden said, okay, that's it, cut it, boom, because I've heard people say, why don't you guys just bury it? And I'm like, because we've paid this much money. And I think, at that point,
The other
people
part
would
of
string us
that
up for
is
waste.
the $130,000 I've raised, the majority of that would have to be paid back to those people.
Yeah,
Because they gave that money in
In good faith.
anticipation of something.
right.
Right.
So,
Let me ask this, are we under contract to continue with phase 2 with Nickerson and Day?
no,
We could, I mean,
well, exactly.
theoretically, if Mark Burgess said he would do it, yes.
Back to the grant stuff. How many grants have you guys applied for? And
Oh, gosh.
So,
25, 50, 100?
so I would have to bring up
Just a
that
ballpark, I
report.
mean-
No,
No,
For a pipe dream is my thing of trying to get these 2 grants. Like,
I don't think so. I think
No,
the state
no.
one is pretty reasonable.
yes, and also Steve Eldridge, like he said, has had amazing luck with Susan Collins's office. So, that can, and she's also the chair of the Appropriations Committee. And whatever people think of her, she does a lot of things for this state that we wouldn't have otherwise. So, she does a lot of good things for us. And so I wrote a bunch of grants. Steve has written repeated grants to Stephen King Foundation, the Alphon Foundation, Lieber Foundation, so many. We've gotten $25,000 from Kennebec Savings Bank, gave us $25,000. A gentleman that is a summer resident that lives in East Monmouth gave $15,000. But beyond that,
It's been little bits.
we've had little bits. So grants, competition in grants right now is so big because everybody is in the same boat we are. There's all these projects in this little bit.
and that's why I'm saying, why does this Miracle Throw think that we're going to?
Because this is a different can of worms. We've never applied for a congressionally directed spending grant, and the historic preservation bond is brand new.
Yeah.
So
So-
with these grants, if we don't spend them, like, let's say you get the 900,000, but like Mark says, we can get it for 600,000. You gotta give them 300,000 back, or does that still go in the budget to?
I would assume that would go into, we could use it to complete the groundwork outside, because we're gonna need to pave. we're gonna need
So
to,
that 900 is even with outside work.
well, it's never been figured in.
For
because-
landscaping and-
For landscaping, because that is a whole other thing.
We're looking for another grant for that. Dennis.
The part of that is we need to get the building done. And the numbers, I'm not gonna say that it costs this, this, and this. We asked the contractor what it would cost to complete. They gave us an estimate for completion, and that's the number we're using. Because who else is gonna give us that? They know what's been done and they know what needs to be done.
But if we could get it done for less, by God, we would.
Exactly.
And I like, if Mark is willing to do it, I would support Mark 100%.
Well, but-
I really would.
Okay, but I have heard that, Mark, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I have heard, Mark, that you are totally against this whole project from the beginning.
But that doesn't matter.
No, but I know, but I just,
personally-
yeah,
I personally, did not vote to continue with this project, but my sentiment along the way is a reflection of the voters of the town that have approached me with their concerns and their feelings about this project. And that's all I have brought forward.
Yeah, but I mean, if Mark wants to do it,
if,
let him do it. I think he
I
would do
don't know.
a good job.
I don't know what kind of conflict there is. I mean, when you've got a member of the select board involved with a
true.
major, I don't know what the details are of that, but.
The lawyer could let you know, couldn't they, Mark, or?
Oh, yeah.
Well, the town attorney would
Probably.
let, Justin would know what can and
Yeah.
can't be done with that, so.
He already does work for the town.
Yeah.
I've done
Yeah.
I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of work for the town over the years, and I've done it at a bare minimum rate. And I think they would be hard pressed to find anyone that could get people and get this thing done cheaper than I would.
I would love to have you do it, Mark. I truly would. So
I won't pay your Verizon bill, though.
I will buy you a truck.
But we would pay for his horse feed.
Yes, yeah.
We would?
Yeah. So, that's the thing, to get it done and get it off the plate, because otherwise, it
I
makes
agree.
no sense to sell something that we'd never recoup the money from.
Right.
And that we also have a
People-
piece of land in the middle of all this municipal property
Right.
that disappears.
What about selling?
That's what I just said.
But Dennis, what would we get for it?
I don't-
$100,000 and then you still.
And
have
it's
to pay
also
it
a
back?
chunk of land in amongst all this municipal land,
Right.
because we own the fairgrounds, we own this, so what are we gonna give them?
So I guess what I would like to ask, Chris, and are there things very honestly that we could say to Wade, and I would be willing to be on a Zoom call or go sit down with him with you and say, reflecting back, looking back, because I'm bad. I did not look itemized. We were presented with a bill. Dawn had reviewed it. I took my lead from her. But reflecting back, could you tell us why were we charged for these things?
I think it'd be a waste of time.
Yeah.
No, but I would like to know an
I know.
answer.
To have an answer.
I would like
And I'm
an
happy
answer.
to do that with Wade. Wade is,
I would like to at least get an answer, and perhaps if he can't give me a straight faced answer, then, perhaps their professionalism or their, I'm not sure quite the word I want, comes into play. And would someone then ask us, would you recommend them?
I would be done with that. I'm sorry.
Right.
I would know anything to do with that company.
yeah,
And Dennis is right. I mean, if we go ahead with phase 2 with them, they're still gonna charge us come down from Bangor.
yeah.
And I mean,
And-
Mark isn't gonna charge us as much to come
Exactly.
from where he lives, so.
Is Mark gonna be able to get us local people? I mean, because we couldn't get local
Well-
people to help us.
Yeah, yeah.
Mark probably has as
Which
good a
would be
chance as
nice.
anyone, and if he doesn't, it gets whoever he can get. But
I'm old, but I
Can
can
I ask
swing a hammer.
Yeah.
can
But
I ask
Go
I,
ahead,
a question
Andrew.
on this?
Yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
I'm not entirely sure how the original request for proposals was worded or has to be phrased because it's a municipality, but I'm pretty sure, at least with my work with the state, is that everything has to be public bid. So it's on the onus to contractors, construction managers, et cetera, to place a bid. And um, the conflict of interest point was raised already. I don't know if I would necessarily bank on Mark. No, no offense to your capabilities or anything, but like obviously with a public bid, there's a lot of parties potentially, and can that be seen as awarding it to somebody of the town as favoritism, or does that create any sort of? I mean, I'm just throwing these out there as things to think about instead of just entirely banking on him being able to GC
Oh,
it.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the $50,000 question, how it would work going forward. So, and like you said, and as I've said all along, this isn't like hiring somebody to come put an addition on my house. It's a whole other set of rules. And that's why when people say, why is it taking so long? Well, it's a whole other set of rules.
yeah, but
Worth looking into,
I think I
in
do.
spite of all that you said.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we'll definitely ask the questions because all along, we've been trying to figure out how we were going to accomplish this.
Right.
Well,
I mean, it's worth it. I mean, maybe
And
Guilt will
one
take
thing I
over
will
on his
say is
part.
that,
if Mark had to resign for a year, no, I'm serious, and then finished it under budget and on time, he would never have a problem getting reelected to the select board again. He would be elected all the time. So, but I just think we need to, I don't know, I kind of agree with Dennis. Dennis has brought up some very good points. Mark has brought up some good points.
well,
We
and
need this
I think
done.
that, the one thing that I will underline is that Dawn Hodson went over every single invoice, and
I
it
know.
wasn't until May that we lost her. And any invoice that's come from since May has been pretty basic stuff. I mean,
I know.
so I don't think
she
that,
passed away.
Yeah, I knew somebody, that's why earlier I was like, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was unexpected. She was a nice person.
and so in saying that, Dawn never had a concern about
I know.
Right.
the
And,
proposal or the contract or the invoices.
And I'm
She
not-
received every single one.
and I'm not criticizing her,
Oh, yeah.
God rest her soul.
But I think that, she
But-
was involved in construction and construction
Right.
management and,
It's just like
But there are some
hospitals. They're
things
gonna
maybe-
charge you so much for
Yeah.
aspirin, so much for a Band-Aid, and
But
that
they
is
won't
the way it is.
But they won't let you bring your own Band-Aid
Nope,
in.
nope,
No.
that's right.
The one that bothers me is the travel. They pay you travel, then the truck, then
Right.
the oil change.
Right.
I'm like,
That's, that,
Prompto, right on it. I'm like,
I
I
agree.
even Googled other Promptos. I'm like, the only Prompto I know is Prompto oil change. I'm like, Prompto businesses. And I'm like, Prompto this, Prompto electronics, Prompto sheet.
So-
I couldn't.
so I have a list
Yeah.
of questions, that Wade will have for me, and I'll ask Wade those questions, and, we'll get the answer.
right, and as a man in business that needs his reputation intact,
Yeah,
I would hope that the answers he gives us are true answers, not this is what I need to say to justify it.
I think, yes,
Just was seeing that thing that she read, he's going to give you them same exact answers.
He is.
It's only
He is.
full,
Yeah, well,
some
so-
percent.
it's like a
and it's
hospital, you know?
contracted.
Except that when we say, what about Verizon? We're going to specify, it's not a generic overall. I would like to say, you build us Verizon, you build us Prompto, you build us this.
Charges for,
But
Why?
But, okay,
Well, I
so he
think
concedes to some of that, then he does phase two, he's gonna get
He's
back.
not gonna get phase two. We're not gonna vote for him.
But
but-
if he gets phase two, then he's just gonna get it back, so.
But, you know, and I will say, Dennis, one of the things that you said was, you know, well, you guys could have bought this for, but like, you can't take your own Band-Aid into the hospital. You can't take your own Tylenol. But I hear what you're saying, but I'm not sure they would have used the equipment if we walked in and said, okay, we bought you this to use.
I think Steve
I-
Brown used some of his own
You know,
equipment.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Mark, if I gave you the hammer and said, you have to use this hammer, you as a contractor, would you use my hammer? Hello?
He's frozen.
He's frozen?
No, he's so.
Yeah.
Is
Oh,
he
you
thinking?
would, that directed, that was directed at me?
Yeah, I said, Mark, I'm sorry. Yes.
Sorry. So what was the question?
Oh, Lord. I was very animated too.
Something about,
So-
I did hear something about using a hammer.
Right, okay, so as Dennis said, you know, you could have bought this equipment and had it at the building, but I can't take my own Band-Aid to the hospital or my own Advil. So I'm not sure, had we bought that equipment, they would use it. So I am saying to you, as a contractor, if I said, you don't need to bring any of your tools, I have my own tools.
Well, no,
Would, you know, or if I said, here, this is my, you know, I bought the hammer, but it has to stay here.
he has his own trailer. you
No,
know.
but if he didn't, I'm saying,
I hear what you're saying, but if they charge $900 an overall rental for a nail gun that only costs $350, you know, now we've bought 3 of them, and they're going to rent them to the next people that they do work for. I don't know. I mean, at some point it gets excessive.
okay, but I mean, my point is, like, if I said, okay, what do you need for material? What do you need for machines or tools? And I went out and bought them and brought them into this contractor. Would a contractor use something
Well, like
the
Andy said,
contractor-
he's,
go ahead.
If the contractor said, I need a Boss Stitch nail gun, this model number, and I'm going to go rent one, and you said, I'll go buy you one, I
Yeah.
don't know why they wouldn't use it. If it's the same thing, if it's exactly what they want, I don't know why they wouldn't use it.
Okay,
but
Well,
like
just
Andy
curious.
said too, I mean, for phase two, you're supposed to get 2 bids anyways. So for wouldn't we have to get 2 bids for phase two? So we have Nickerson O'Day's bid already, and if Mark could come up with a bid, and if he can legally do it, then we should consider it.
Can you put out a new RFP for the same?
Not without knowing we have money. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that.
no, yeah.
So, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, no, you're right, Chris.
So, I mean, everything that we've worked off of for writing grants, because we had somebody that could give us the numbers.
Yeah.
And, you know, I wasn't gonna ask somebody else to come in and give us numbers.
And you know, Dennis, the $130,000 that was raised already is Chris, single-handedly, all by herself. She, and I mean, she was selling vegetables even, so, I mean, Chris is just remarkable.
yes.
She certainly, yes.
Well, it's not why I do this. So it's to complete a task and to complete a vision that goes
She's
back.
doing it because she didn't want me seeing me sitting on the wrecking ball.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Naked, screaming when they said they were gonna demolish it.
You know, completing a vision that, you know, is something that means a lot
Yes,
for you, for your family, and for my family in 6 generations that have walked those halls and received their diploma from there and can say, this is what was here and this was what was there and this is why we want to see
and
this
there are a lot of
project to
famous
be-"
people that
Oh,
walk those
exactly.
halls. That Monmouth should be proud of the history.
Yes, yeah, that have done some pretty amazing things, not only for Monmouth, but for the state, but for
For the country.
the country.
Have you
So
reached out to them famous people?
they're dead.
They're dead.
You know,
So, we could start a list. There was O.O. Howard from Howard University. There was John Stevens, that was the chief engineer of the Panama Canal. There was, what was his name? Dewey, that was the head
Why
contractor
don't we
that
just
built.
why don't we just email him Rudy's book?
Oh, I know. There's
If
just
you give me
been,
your email, we'll email you Rudy Johnson's book. Okay?
so, there's been amazing people that, if it wasn't for Monmouth Academy, those things might never have happened. So,
But one of the other donations was Penny Johnson.
yes, she's, she's totaled about $10,000. And then, the Dyer,
Smith Dyer.
Smith Dyer, and why can't I think of his name? Charlie Jacobs,
Jacobs, yeah.
gave $10,000. I mean, so there's been a lot of, but they also were in lieu of, they didn't just give us $10,000 being, their family members being recognized in the building once it's completed. That's why if this building doesn't get completed, that money is gonna have to go back to those people.
Yeah.
Because, there was a,
I'll take my window back.
yes, exactly. So, a lot of people have done that, so.
No, so we have to do is wait to see what the town votes on here, and then we just go from there.
That's why I always say,
Yeah.
tell your friends.
Yeah,
You know.
and then if the town doesn't vote it through, then we have to decide on Plan B, which we'll just have to discuss at the next meeting.
We'll see if the town crier gets the support behind us.
Oh, so, exactly. Well, that's the thing. I mean, you get a huge benefit for a little bit of investment. So,
Right. Dennis, I thank you for bringing those things to
I do too, Dennis.
our attention. And I don't feel attacked. I feel enlightened a little and, put on my hat a little bit better to, actually go down through things. But as Chris said, what we got, what we were told, the guidelines that we had to follow, I think that we as a committee tried to follow them. We tried to reach out locally. We didn't get local still in order to go with it. But I do appreciate the things that you've brought up. And all we can do is ask, why did we get charged this, and see what we might get for a response.
I think we got cheated.
And I know it's
Yeah.
kind of water under the bridge, but the reason I'm bringing it up is because you want to keep going with it after it could have been finished for that amount.
Yeah, no,
And then the townspeople would have been happy.
yeah,
you
you're
know?
right.
I'm not sure Monmouth people will ever be happy with anything that's
I
done.
No,
No, I think there's always gonna be something. There's always,
Yeah,
there's always something.
Well, you can guarantee your taxes are always going to go up for a lot of reasons.
yeah, I
What did
think
they say?
Ben Franklin said that.
Yeah,
Yes,
something about
death and taxes.
death and taxes,
The only
right?
two sure things in life are death and
Right.
taxes. And, with the RSU, their labor contracts are always going to go up. And since they're 65% of our tax rate, you can guarantee that your taxes are always going to go up. And any labor contract that's negotiated within the town, you can guarantee that the labor contracts are going to go up. And that's-
Insurances are gonna go
and
up.
insurance is gonna go up, and the fuel and utilities are gonna go up, so,
Scares me what these next couple of bills might be from
so,
heat.
that's why,
Pain.
we only turn it on at the last minute,
Right.
and we turn it off as soon as we can see that those degree days have.
Tomorrow's gonna be nice.
Yes, I know, so, do we have anything else? Andrew, Mark, anybody have any other questions?
I'm good.
You're
Motion to
good.
adjourn.
All right. Thank you, Andrew.
Take care, everybody.
Good to see you. Good to talk to you. Not see you, but talk to you.
One of these days I'll get a camera for my
That's all right. Thank you.
take care.
All right. Anybody have anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, okay. I'll second.
Okay. No. All those in favor of adjourning?
Right, so it's gonna be the 6th at 6, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Dennis, thank you for coming.